Hey guys, so we had some questions last week when we did our demo about how to take a normal image and focus on one part of it while blurring out the background. And since we're kind of pressed on time these days, I'm going to do a little demo and just post it in the channel for you guys to see. So I'm going to start in Sketch just because it's a little easier and give you guys an understanding of how it works. So I'm going to start by creating a new artboard. For this sake, I'm just going to use a piece of paper. A4 is kind of a standard size I like to use, but it doesn't really make a difference. This is just for demo purposes. So I'm going to start with an image that I grabbed beforehand. I got it from a website called unsplash.com. It's a royalty-free imagery website, so you can just go in and snag things. And I grabbed this image because it's got a very basic shape that is easy to trace at the outer edge, and so we won't have too many problems with like hair or anything like that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this image. You can do that by pressing Command D on a Mac or the Control D on a Windows PC, and I'm just going to layer them right on top of each other in the exact same place. I'm going to select my top image, and I'm going to grab my vector tool and just trace around the object I want to focus on. Do it really quick, just for time's sake. And you can come in and kind of clean things up. I want to uncheck the borders box, just so I can be a lot more precise. It's a lot harder to tell exactly where things are when you've got a big thick border. So I'm just going to go through this really quickly. Of course, Sketch is lagging on me. I'm just going to, that looks okay. Bring this one in a little bit. I'm not going to get too thorough here just because it's a quick demonstration. But so I've made that outline. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the vector path I've made and the top image, and I'm going to make a mask. You can do that by clicking the little mask button up here. You didn't notice anything because of the image behind it. If I hide the background image, you'll notice that all we can see now is the part I masked out. But I want both images visible. I'm going to select the background image now, and I am going to check the blur box. Now that's kind of drastic, but you can come over here into Gaussian blur and you can adjust the amount of the blur to make it look a little more realistic. And obviously you can go in and tweak things, make it more to your preferences, but that's just a quick little show of how to do it. There's also a question about how you would go about adding a gradient lighting or color effect to a blurred image. So I will show you guys how to do that really fast. It's super simple. I'm going to hit R and open my rectangle tool, and I'm going to just outline the image, get rid of the borders, and I'm going to put it underneath the masked layer, but on top of the image. And I'm going to rename this mask just so it's a little easier for us to differentiate. Now, what I want to do with this filled in rectangle, I'm going to come into the fills, and I'm going to switch from a regular fill or solid to a gradient fill. And it gives me an option as to which direction I want this gradient to go. So you can see if I was to do red starting on this side, it makes its way from red to white as I shift. I'm going to go at an angle, and I'm going to start up at the top because if you remember, there is a light source up at the top. So I want to start up there, and I'm going to turn it to white. And I'm going to turn down the alpha or the opacity. Just for ease, I'm going to do opacity. I'll turn it down to like 30%. So you can see it's a little brighter up there. And now I'm going to come down to my bottom point. I'm also going to do white. I don't want to mess with the color too much for this example. But this one I'm going to take down to 0%. So you can see there's a bit of a shift now in the color. One thing you can do if you want to make it a little more vibrant one way is add a point in the middle. And you can see you can move it around, adjust it to however you would like it. Now I'm going to turn this back up to 100% actually and show you what the alpha option does. If you do the opacity, it's going to do the entire gradient. I apologize for that. But I want to do just the alpha, so it's just this one point. So I'll turn that down to 0. Now you can see there's more of a gradient. And I will turn the alpha on this one down to 30%. And using this line, I can control a little more precisely where I want the light to be. But for the sake, I'm just going to put it up here at the top and let it work its way down. So again, don't use the opacity on that. Use the alpha settings for each individual point. The opacity will turn down the entire thing, which we do not want to do. So I'm going to hop over to Figma, and we're going to do the same thing. I created the same artboard size ahead of time just for speed. And I already put the image on there. I'm going to duplicate the image, exact same thing. And using the top image, I'm going to use the vector tool, or in Figma, it's called the pen tool. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trace the outline of the object. And for time's sake, I'm not going to worry about cleaning it up. I will let you guys use your imaginations on that. And then, now Figma is a little different. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure my image layer is on top of my vector layer. And I'm going to select them both and hit mask. Now, as you can see, if I turn off the layer, I don't have much going for me here. Everything just disappeared. So I'm going to check my vector and make sure that I have fill turned on. And now it'll show me my actual image. If you turn off the fill, you're saying there's nothing there, and it's just going to be white with your vector outline. And sometimes you want to double check, but it should have the image as the fill over here on the actual image selection. So now I'm going to turn on the background layer again. I'm going to select the background layer, and I'm going to go to Effects. I'm going to add an effect, and I'm going to select a layer blur. And it will blur the entire layer because I have it selected. It's not blurring this image or this shape because that's actually a separate layer on top. And if you click on the little light icon, you can adjust how much of a blur you want. Obviously, we don't want it to be too heavy, so I'm going to go with a 2. No, I'm going to go with a 3. So it blurs out a little bit, but you can still see the image. And then really quickly, the same thing with the color scheme, the gradient. I'm going to make a rectangle. I'm going to put it between my 2 layers. And I'm going to click on my fill. I'm going to change it from solid to radial, which is the same thing as gradient in Sketch. I'm going to put my points wherever I want them. And again, I can select, this point is the starting point, this point is an end point, or switch it around. I'm going to go all white, and I'm going to turn my, let's go RGB. That was not what I wanted to do. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of the easiest way to do this. I'm going to start over with that, actually. So draw my rectangle, put it between my 2 layers, switch to a radial blur, or radial fill. And you'll notice it's actually already doing it for me a little bit, so I don't have to do too much. Definitely got a light source up there. I'm going to select my bottom point. You can do it right there. And I could completely change colors if I want, but I'm going to turn that one to white also. And then again, you can put something in the middle to kind of control how you want the light to look. Radial gives you more of a circular sunspot, which is kind of cool in a situation like this where we are wanting to show a little bit of natural sunlight. So that's how you do that on both Sketch and Figma. I encourage you all to give it a try. It's a little daunting at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. Just remember your masked layer is always on top of your background layer, and then you're going to blur out your background layer. I hope that was helpful, and I am looking forward to whatever you guys want me to make next for you.